Yo, glad you could join me today. I'm going to take you on a quick tour of the Focus OmniTweet UI so you can see exactly how everything works. And also I'll explain some little details to you so you can really understand what's going on here and can appreciate what you'll be working with. All right, let's dive in. So the first and most fundamental thing, we're looking at our timeline view here. This is the main page for OmniTweet on your website. And what we've got at the top, if you're a logged in user, you will see a simple composition field. This is very similar to what you get on Twitter on the desktop app. Let's see if we can pull that up. So here it is. You see this what's happening area at the top. And with Focus OmniTweet, your what's happening area is going to work much the same. You can type whatever you want. You can use any formatting you want, just like Twitter. You know, you add your spaces, you add your emoji. You set this up exactly how you want. And what's crucial to note here, and what's a little bit different from Twitter, if you do this on Twitter and type in what's happening, this is size 18 font or larger, something like that. It's big. But when tweets get published in your timeline, the font size gets bumped down to 15. Okay, so you compose at a different size than your eventual output. I actually find this really bothersome because there's quite a few tweet styles and meme styles that you might want to employ where you're just doing like manual spacing. So some text here, and then like maybe I've got some images underneath and I want to place. So I want this other text to be above an image that appears on the right. With the basic Twitter interface on the desktop app, at least, is very hard to do because you're dealing with one font size on your input and then a different font size on your output. So that makes it really, you're just guessing at the spacing. Detailed spacing like that, where line breaks occur, you're just, it's just a guess, and generally speaking, you're not going to get it right. So what I've done with OmniTweet, which I think is a big advantage, is the input font size is exactly matching what you're going to get in the tweet once it's, once you've created it. So let's look at this real quick to see how this translates over to Twitter. So here's a tweet that I composed, and we can see that this first line ends in OmniTweet for 5, and then the second line says days, but I've already blah, blah, blah. And if we go look at that tweet when it's published on Twitter, we can see that we've got the exact same number of characters per line. It's exactly the same. Even though this is a smaller font size, when we composed it on your OmniTweet, OmniTweet knows all this. OmniTweet knows what size you've selected for your site, and it creates your timeline to be sized exactly how things are going to be when your content is output on Twitter. So it's a very smart thing that OmniTweet does. No matter what font size you choose for your site, like the one you're looking at here, you're looking at size 20 is how I've got my site set up to run. And so the input fields and the actual timeline width and all that expands to make this environment at 20 pixel font size exactly the same as the Twitter output environment at 15 pixel font size. Okay, so that's pretty cool scaling effect that's in play there, and I think this is a really nice feature because, like I said, you can pre-guess, you can determine exactly what your spacing is going to need to be and what kind of output you're going to get in a desktop app timeline. So that's really handy. So this is a really cool input field. I think it's smarter than the basic Twitter one, and in OmniTweet 1.0, you can add an image. It's just the same as you would with Twitter. We'll just pick this. Boom. So it's easy to add an image. You can add up to 4. The same as you can on if you're posting directly to Twitter. If you don't like the image you selected, you can remove it and then add a different one if you want, or not at all. It's up to you. But there we go. So that is the basic tweet creation mechanism. So let's actually so I'm just going to create a sample tweet here and post it, and then I'll show you what else you can do with the OmniTweet UI. All right, so here we go. So I've created the tweet. If I click the create button, it creates the tweet on my site, okay? What's important to note here is this does not create the tweet on Twitter yet, okay? There's reasons for this. Number one is workflow. So you create your tweet. This little two-step process gives you some time here, an opportunity to edit your tweet if you want. You can just read it, see if you got everything the way you want, you know, no typos, or maybe you purposely included a typo, something like that to gain attention. Whatever it is, you get that tweet exactly how you want it. And if I see that something's not quite right, I can click the edit button. It pulls up this little pop-up editor. All right, so now I've updated it and I added that extra text. Now we're ready to go here. So I've got options, still have options. Again, this tweet is published on my website, but it is not published on Twitter. If I wanted to, I could, I say, I really don't want to, really want to publish this after all. This was a mistake. I can delete it. Boop. And that tweet is gone. We'll create it again. So I could delete it if I don't like it. And I could also use this button to add to a thread. This will create a new thread. A thread doesn't technically exist until you've added a second tweet. Otherwise, it's just a solo tweet. And so if I wanted to create a thread, all I would do is use the add to thread button down here. Then it pulls up this pop-up editor, and then we can add to thread. When you do this, it automatically creates this little link on every tweet in the thread so that you can access the thread page that was just created by OmniTweet when you created your thread. So if you want, you can, this is the thread interface. We'll get into this in a second. You still have all the controls you have on the timeline. It's just a little different because the thread output is a little bit different. So now I've got my first tweet here. It's not published to Twitter yet. We chose to add a second tweet to it to make it a thread, just for the purposes of the demo here. But for now, I'm just going to publish the first tweet we did. Okay, I'm going to click the tweet button, and it's going to publish it. All right, so we can see the formatting. We can see, for example, I just want to test what the final output's going to be. We see that publishing is the last word in this line. I want to see if the formatting that happens on Twitter, the resulting formatting, is identical to what we see here. And let's see. It's not exactly the same. It should be exactly the same, but in this case, it's not 100% match. So I will be going in. So Twitter changes the actual dimensions of the timeline here all the time. They changed it twice during the course of developing OmniTweet so far this year. And so periodically I'll go in and make little micro adjustments to make sure it's always perfect for you, for whatever font size you've selected. But we're still pretty close here. Obviously this is still pretty close to what the final, to what our input was here. And really just the word publishing is different. So it didn't quite fit over here, but it did fit on our timeline. So let's click on this and see. So this is what's annoying about Twitter. When you click through to view an individual tweet, the typography and the sizing is different than it is in the timeline. I just find that annoying. So with OmniTweet, I have avoided that situation. So it's more of a WYSIWYG type thing. Your tweets are one size when you view them, and that's the way it works. On mobile, it's the same deal. So let's look at this in mobile real quick. So here it is in mobile, and it's size 15 in mobile views. That's what Twitter's sizing is on mobile applications. So this is designed to be exactly like Twitter with one notable difference. So with all of the OmniTweet, with everything that you see, the sample tweets, all this stuff, all the spacing in here has been optimized with golden ratio typography. So even the spacing between the lines, you'll notice there's a little more generous spacing between line spacing here than you find on Twitter. There's not as much space between each line of text here, and certainly when you click through, there's even less. So that's not optimized for great reading, for easy reading, but the OmniTweet interface absolutely is. Even when you go to the mobile view, still got the same thing here. The typography is more optimized for reading than it is on Twitter. So this is a nicer presentation. The spacing you see in here, all the white space, all that stuff, all that is also calibrated according to golden ratio typography. Another point, when you are in the mobile view on your mobile device, the input field font size is now the same as the tweet font size. Again, that's always scaled together no matter what device you're using or how you choose to interface with this thing. These things are always going to match up, so you're always going to have much more of a WYSIWYG environment, a reliable WYSIWYG environment with OmniTweet than you'll have with the Twitter apps. All right, so I think that's helpful. I think that's a cool feature of this, and I think you will definitely appreciate that as you use it. And again, every tweet, whether it's been published or not, has this edit button. There is a difference though. Any tweet that's been published to Twitter, if you try to edit it, you can't edit it because you can't edit tweets that have already been posted to Twitter. So if you posted something that you didn't like and you wanted to delete it, by deleting a tweet that's already been published to Twitter, OmniTweet will delete the tweet from both Twitter and your site. Okay, but if a tweet has not yet been published to Twitter and you choose to delete it, OmniTweet will just delete it from your site because that's the only place to delete it from. And so I created this sample thread to show you how a thread page might work. And so now that we have seen all of our interface controls here in the timeline, we'll flip over to the thread view to see the other major interface that you get with OmniTweet. So here it is, our sample tweet thread. This is just a WordPress page. There's nothing special about it. It's just a little bit enhanced versus a normal WordPress page because it is an OmniTweet thread. And here's how that works. So with any thread, you can just click on some text or on a picture or on any content in your thread, and OmniTweet is now showing you a single tweet. So this was one tweet, and this was a different tweet. So that's it's sort of handy. You can figure out like what individual chunks of content you are dealing with. You've got the same options that you had on the timeline. You can edit, but again, this one's already been posted. So there's all you can do is delete it. And then you could also view on Twitter if you want to see that tweet on Twitter. Boom, simple, handy click through for you to have there. I found that to be very handy when I'm using like my mobile device to tweet, stuff like that, or to check out my threads. I can, if I want to go see how many likes or something like this a tweet within a thread has, that's an easy way for me to check while I'm, using OmniTweet on my site. And then any tweet in your thread that is not published yet to Twitter will have this tweet button. This is disabled by default, so you can't just randomly click on this and accidentally publish a tweet. You actually have to click on the tweet to activate this little, instrument panel pop-up, and this also activates your tweet button. So now I could post this to Twitter. But I couldn't do that just randomly if this was not selected. This kills false positives in your basic usage, so that's kind of a handy feature. So again, this tweet has not been published, so I could edit it. It pulls up the pop-up. You can do whatever you want here, add an image if you want, delete it, update your tweet, whatever. Pretty straightforward. And then again, I can tweet that if I want. If I want from the thread view, if I want to add a tweet to the thread, there's a simple button here at the bottom. This button is only visible to logged in administrators. Same goes for this kind of thing over here. These tweet buttons. Non-logged in users can click on individual tweets and the background will highlight, but they won't get this pop-up menu, so it doesn't it doesn't shift the page around for basic visitors. All they can do is just read, which is what they're accustomed to doing anyway. And then you got these couple more handy links. We can view the thread on Twitter if it's been posted to Twitter, if the first tweet has been posted to Twitter, or we can just return to our timeline view to go post some more tweets or whatever we need to do. So there it is. It's pretty simple. Everything that OmniTweet does, we've just got the two different UIs. Basically, we've got the timeline view, and we see how that works. And we've also got the thread view, and we see what's going on there. So now you know. If you've got any questions about this, anything I showed you, if you've got some follow-up questions for any of that stuff, please pop over to Twitter and give me a shout. I'm happy to answer any of these questions for you. And guys, I hope you're as excited as I am about Focus OmniTweet version 1.0 be coming to you very soon, within the next 2 weeks. To stay tuned with that, just follow me on Twitter because I'll be talking about it the whole time. All right? I'll see you there.